Labour are to face fresh attacks from the Green Party in key seats in the election. We're going to read into this more from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from The Guardian with the headline that Labour are to face fresh attacks from Green Party in key seats in the election. The party hopes to lure voters who want radical change and strong climate policies rather than just centralism. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So, the Green Party. So I'm going to hopefully at some point do a breakdown like I've done with the Conservatives with Reform. I'm going to be doing over the last weekend. I'm hopefully to do one with the Green Party at some point in the future as well, as well as the Lib Dems and Labour as well. But at the moment, so what's happening with the Greens? So the Greens obviously are looking to target at least 4 seats in the general election, 4 key seats, which we'll look into obviously from the Guardian piece. And obviously that includes obviously the one that they hold currently by Caroline Lucas at the Brighton Pavilion, which you would expect them to hold. But there's no guarantee that they can hold it as well. Bear in mind that she has been the MP there since 2010. So they've had a Green MP there for 14 years. So they've had that same MP there for a while. So whether or not the next person stepping in will be able to maintain that seat will obviously be up for debate. Whether they can or not is obviously another thing. And most of these seats are obviously looking to be taken away from Labour. Now, is this going to hurt Labour's chances of winning the general election? No, it's not going to hurt them. And my honest opinion is that is the seats that the Greens are targeting, are these, the question that I want to know, especially from Labour supporters, are the seats that the Labour seats that the Greens are targeting, are they so important seats that they need to hold them for absolute paramount, or are there more key specific seats that they need to target? And my answer, and I say that to you because I generally don't think they are necessary, but I also understand why obviously you want to gain as many seats as you possibly can for this general election. Polls indicate obviously that the vast majority of people in this country want a Labour government. They want something different, and even if some people think that Keir Starmer is boring and he's fundamentally different, this premise that people have in the comments that keep saying that Labour are going to be worse than the Conservatives is just nonsense. It really, really is. Life was not horrible back in 2007, 2008. Things are a lot worse now in 2024 than they have been for 14 years. And, you know, I'm not a Labour person. You guys know this. I'm very critical of the Labour Party, and rightfully so. But I would rather have a Labour government than a Conservative one. And I think anybody who would rather have a Conservative government more than a Labour one really needs to get checked. Because they've not been paying attention to what's been happening in the last 14 years, or hasn't been paying attention to the news, to the politics, the situation that we are in. That being said, could the Greens be somebody that can really make a difference? Now, I think if they get the 4 seats that they could potentially get in this general election, if they get any more, it'd be a bonus, but we don't expect them to. But there's 4 key seats they're looking to target. And I did do a poll last week asking what they expect the Greens kind of seats to get. And it was kind of mixed. Most people were saying that they would get 2, maybe 3 or more seats. So most people who voted on the poll do indicate and do have this belief that the Greens are going to gain more seats, more than what most majority of polls are saying. I do believe that they will gain potentially at least 1 more seat. I'm confident that they will gain at least 1 more seat, and I believe that will be the Bristol Central one. The other 2 I'm not so sure about, but I'm pretty confident that they can take the Bristol Central one from Labour. I'm very confident about that. But the other 2 I'm not 100% sure they'll get. They may make progress in terms of voter gain on them, but I don't know whether or not they'll be able to take them from Labour. But obviously time will tell on that. But obviously some of the other policies and things, like the Greens have been kind of clear about what they stand for and what some of their policies is. Now, And yes, they are a small party. Yes, they're not going to have the most influence in this election. We know that the most influence is going to come from Conservatives and Labour. We know that. But that doesn't mean the likes of them, the Lib Dems, and even Reform that sits on the outside, who aren't going to, in my opinion, I don't think they'll have any MPs at the general election. I think the only reason Lee Anderson is an MP is because he defected over. Is he going to hold on to it? I'll tell you what, I'll be stunned if he actually holds on to his seat as an MP. It really would open up. It would be actually one of the biggest talking points of the night that people voted for Reform MP rather than a Conservative one outright because of electoral system. But but I think that Labour, some of their policies have not always been as clear cut as they have been. They have changed their position, changed their goalpost a few times. Now, of course, one of the arguments have been, of course, is that we had COVID, we had the war in Ukraine, and then we had Liz Truss crashing the economy, which changed things as well. They are arguments, whether you want to agree or disagree. They are fundamental arguments that they have, some of those counterpoints that they play into. They don't really use COVID and the war in Ukraine as excuses for the situations that the country is in. They use it more to say, well, basically the Conservatives have been in power for 14 years and what have they done about it, is more the thing that they say. But the Greens aren't perfect in any way, shape or form. They've had, recently, I covered on one of my live streams, they've had some anti-Semitism about some of their candidates that they've either retweeted or light-tweaked a certain anti-Semitism, which is obviously something they haven't, as far as I'm aware, they still have not addressed. We also know that they had issues with the transgender community within the Green transgender community within the Green Party as well in the past. That has been highlighted as well. So while I'm more in favour of supporting Greens than any other political party, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they are perfect and you should vote for them. My position is that you vote who you think is in the best interest for you and your local constituency. If you just want to vote just to stop the Tories and ensure that they do not get in, link is down below, the stopthetories.org, if you want to enter your postcode in to guarantee your best chance of voting tactically to oust the Conservatives. But that's entirely at your discretion and your choice. But for me, out of all the parties, for me, the most favourable to me personally has been the Green Party. But that's not to say they're perfect either. So, let's read what the Guardians had to say about this here, guys. So, Labour will face a renewed attack from the Green Party in key marginal seats at this general election, as a group known primarily for its climate stance ties to rich voters who want radical change rather than centrism. In a sharp contrast to all the main parties, the Greens will make an unabashed argument for higher taxes, which say they are needed to fund the NHS, education and other priorities, along their call for much stronger action on the climate crisis. So, just right there off the bat, the Greens are saying, yeah, we're not going to BS you, we're telling you right straight to your face, we are going to put up taxes. No dithering, no lying about it, they're telling you straight to your face, we are going to be putting up taxes, and this is why we're going to be putting them up. According to a recent YouGov polling, the Green Party is particularly strong among younger voters, coming in second place among younger 30s, above the Tories and the Liberal Democrats. Local elections saw voters moving to the Greens from the Liberal Democrats and even the Conservatives. That's very interesting. Obviously, YouGov is one of the more reliable polling. But obviously, I always say with polling, always take them with a pinch of salt. But I find it particularly fascinating. A lot of younger voters are looking at the Green Party, and those who have been getting engaged in political, obviously looking at them and seeing what they're saying, seeing some of their policies, and it's inclining to a lot of the younger voters. Obviously, the whole climate thing definitely plays into their hands as well, given their history. But obviously, they obviously want to show, I think, yeah, especially some of the other things they say, like higher taxes, NHS education and that kind of stuff. They're obviously showing that they're willing to go outside that box of just being known as the climate one. But when you think of the Green Party, the first thing comes to your mind is climate. And especially if you're somebody who's not engaged in politics and you hear about the Green Party, the first thing coming to your mind is, oh, are they like the tree-hugging party or something? Because that's going to be the mindset of non-political people if they're ever asked who the Green Party are. That's going to be the mindset of people. But it's fascinating that they're going to be taking some voters from the Conservatives. I'm not surprised by them taking voters from the Liberal Democrats, because a lot of people have lost a lot of trust from the Liberal Democrats, especially what happened to their coalition as well. So James Crouch, the head of policy and public affairs research at Opinium, said that the landscape of the left centre is more complicated now. Voters who might have looked to Liberal Democrats for an alternative and the two main parties now have the Greens as well. Many of the Green Party's target voters are likely to come from Labour. However, disenchanted Keir Starmer's stance on the war in Gaza and the watering down of Labour's commitment to invest £28 billion a year on reaching net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Let me just be very clear here. I just want to make this very point, especially for Labour supporters out there, is that while they have watered down their commitment on the investing £28 billion a year on the greenhouse gas emissions, they have not scrapped it. That's a very, very key point. They've not scrapped it. They have watered it down. I believe they watered it down to like 22 billion was a rough estimate, I believe, when they said it was at the time of when it was watering down. So those who are Labour supporters, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat on that. So they have not scrapped it outright, but they have watered it down from the figure that they initially gave, which is not ideal either. So that's obviously something that the Green Party can jump on and scream and shout off, especially for those who are strong on climate change. So that's one thing they've got a nice punching bag to throw at Labour at. The second, obviously, punching bag is the war on Gaza, because when it all kicked off, the Greens were very clear about their position. They wanted an immediate ceasefire, completely unhumanitarian, no question whatsoever about it. They said they were very clear about their position right from the start. Labour and the Conservatives were not very clear about it from the start. Yes, Labour's position and tune has changed since then, and obviously that infamous radio interview with Nick Ferrari did not go down well with Keir Starmer, I would say, but it has hurt a lot of their voters. And I'm not going to say that Muslim voters, because it's not just Muslims who are upset about what's happening in Gaza, but there's a lot of people who are non-Muslims who are generally like seeing what's happening and not happy that Labour are kind of just calling it outright what it is. So it's not just a certain section of society about how they feel. And remember, just because somebody is of certain religion or background doesn't mean to say that they're all thinking the same thing. Some Muslims might still vote conservative for all we know. So it's just take that I would just take that a little bit with a pinch of salt. But it is an issue that is affecting the Labour Party. I think the stance on Gaza, that is for sure. And something, because the Greens have been clear about it from the start, I'm pretty sure one or two voters have probably turned to them as well. So Labour lost seats to the Greens in May's local election in Bristol, Stroud, Newcastle, South Tyneside and other areas, including those with high Muslim populations, though to be a reaction on Labour's stance on Gaza. Yeah, so it's entirely possible that they can win this back in power. Those seats, those Greens back in power, if they say the right things on that. But we'll have to wait and see, obviously. At this general election as well, it could be the case that they could go back to Labour as well. Never know. The Green Party's leadership is only focusing on 4 seats that they think they can win. Brighton Pavilion are held by the outgoing Caroline Lucas since 2010. You would expect them to hold on to that seat, but we'll have to wait and see. Bristol Central, the newly created seat, to be contested by the party's co-leader Carla Denyer. This is the one that I generally believe that they will take at the general election. There is while they didn't gain overall control of it, the numbers have just been kept going in the right favour for the Greens in there. I do believe the Greens will take it. I think they will take this seat. They've really been working quite a long time in the Bristol area, and the numbers are slowly going their ways. The polls are indicating that it's in their favour as well, in local polling and whatnot is indicating it's in their favour. So I expect them to take Bristol Central. Whether they will remains to be seen. Waveney Valley, another new setting, straddling Norfolk and Suffolk. I don't know enough about it in terms of polling, but obviously if they gain more than the 2 they have, it would be a bonus, I would say. Co-leader Adrian Ramsay will stand, and North Herefordshire. So those are the 4 seats that they're going to be contesting over, obviously. And as time gets closer, we'll look into all of that a bit closer as we get closer to the general election, guys. So the Green Party and its Scottish counterpart are aiming to fill a full slate of candidates across the UK, and this could present a problem for Starmer in some key marginals, where Labour's chances of winning could be faulted by the size of the Green Party vote. Yes, this is a big thing. So at the time of this recording, I don't know if the Greens have got a candidate in every single seat, but if they do, this will hurt Labour more than anything in terms of their chances of getting seats, because many people who will want to. There will be a lot of people who want to vote Green but can't vote Green because there's not a candidate in their seat. And if there's a candidate there, there's a chance that people will vote just for that party. Now, is it going to be enough for certain key seats that maybe Labour might be winning take away? I don't know. I don't think it will. But like Reform is to the Conservatives, I do think that the Greens will hurt Labour in certain seats when it comes to whether they gain or lose them. It will be fascinating to see if there are ever if the numbers will be, if Labour will still get the numbers that they need. I still think the vast majority that they will get close enough, either a majority or a hung parliament. I'm still sceptical to say that they're going to get an outright majority. I'm holding back on that. I can't talk about the Scottish Greens. I'd rather let the two Davies, their U channel, let them talk about the Scottish Greens, so I can't comment on them. But there is, without a shadow of a doubt, the Greens will have some. If they have candidates in every single seat in England, it will be a problem for Labour. It will be a problem for Labour, in my opinion. Is it going to make the overall damaging difference? Stop Labour from winning outright majority? I don't think. I don't know. I don't know on that one. Is this a straight answer? But I certainly do think that they could be problematic for the Labour Party. I think that is for sure. The deadline's obviously running out as well for the candidates to get in as well. The other key thing, and this is another thing that I should add actually as well, so which is really, really important, guys. So when the candidates are locked in, all the candidates are inputted and everything, and they pass the deadline. I believe it's this Tuesday or Thursday. When the deadline passes to input your candidates ready for the general election, there's a very high chance that I believe that many of the so-called right-wing media will start publishing dirt up on Labour candidates, on Green candidates and Liberal Democratic candidates to undermine some key seats, key candidacies in certain areas in the country, which will damage the political party's chances of winning in those seats. And you won't. And the thing is, these parties, all three of these parties, if they cannot pull those candidates out and then put another one back in once we've passed the deadline, it's either they back the candidate or they basically give up that seat. That can seriously hurt them. I think it will hurt the Greens a lot. If I don't think their key seats. I don't think it's going to affect their key seats. I don't think any of the candidates for the key seats are going to be hurt. But when they put candidates in certain seats where they're not expected to win but expect to gain some votes, one or two of them may have said some things, like I said about the anti-Semitic tweets that I said about last week. That could come back to bite the Green Party. That could hurt their overall chances of gaining the key seats that they want to, because it doesn't just hurt that candidate, hurts the party overall, because the right wing will just simply blow it up, because that's what they'll do. Same thing with any of the Labour candidates. If any of the Labour candidates haven't been vetted properly, again, right wing will blow it up. Same with Lib Dems, be blown up as well by the media. So, going to be very interesting once we pass that deadline. That is for sure. So the Guardian identified 14 constituents in the last general election or by-election, since which the Conservatives won a majority over Labour, which was less than the number of votes cast for the Greens. In a handful more, the Green votes was greater than the margins of which the Conservatives won over the Liberal Democrats, or which the Scottish National Party won over the Liberal Democrats or Labour. Some of these constituents will be affected by boundary changes, so it's not possible to map them neatly to the current seats. The seat where Labour Party votes made a significant difference in the last election, including red wall seats such as Bury, Blythe Valley, North West Durham, as well as Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath in Scotland. In Stroud, the Greens had a particularly strong performance, polling almost 5,000 votes, which was considerably more than the 3,840 votes by which the Conservatives won over Labour. In the Valley of Glamorgan, another area where the Greens enjoy sizable support, their votes were within 10% of the majority of 3,552, by which the Conservatives took the seat. Only 4 of these 14 constituencies were made intact after the boundary changes had been put in place for this election, so it's difficult to estimate how many constituencies could be affected by the vote. Some local Labour parties have suggested that Greens should hold back to avoid split in the left-wing vote. This has angered the Greens, as no one votes for the Greens by accident. They pointed out, and it's patronising to suggest that their voters don't know what they're doing. The number of seats where the Greens could split the left-wing vote is likely to be small, not enough to prevent a Labour victory if the polls are correct. Yeah, this is the thing. I don't think it's going to make a massive difference, but it may hurt. It may make a difference in 1 or 2 seats, but it might not either. Like I said, 1 or 2 seats, but I don't think it's going to affect them overall. And tactical voting often happens in a first-past-the-post system. The Greens are among the strongest advocates for proportional representation. Yeah, proportional representation is obviously that we know that a strong membership in the Labour Party want proportional representation too. But we know Labour are not going to be promising that in this first Parliament, but whether they're going to promise it in the second one remains to be seen. The effort is on Labour is likely to be slightly less than the impact on Reform Party on the Conservative vote. The Greens are polling consistently at about 6 or 7% of the vote, while Reform is about 10 to 11%. Yes, they are polling higher Reform, but they're scattered all over the place, the voters. They're not, while there are 1 or 2 areas where they're very strong, they're not strong enough to gain a seat, in my opinion. They're not united enough to gain seat, in my opinion. But yes, the Greens haven't really done too much around terms of the poll numbers have been mainly the same for them, to be fair, 6 or 7%. I agree with that. Labour's vote share is much too high in urban areas, according to Anthony Wells, head of the political polling at YouGov, who says the biggest gain in support for the Greens is from people unhappy with Labour moving to more centrist ground and unhappy with Gaza. But these people are more concentrated in seats that Labour are likely to hold quite comfortably in areas such as London and major cities. Carla Denyer, the co-leader of the Green Party and parliamentary candidate for Bristol Central, told The Guardian that while Labour is so far ahead in every single poll, the outcome of this election is not in doubt. But voters are disappointed by what Labour is offering and is nowhere near ambitious enough to tackle the crisis we're facing. The voters I talked to in Bristol, Brighton and around the country tell me that politics is broken and they don't want more of the same. They want real change. And she's absolutely right. People do want real change. And I think if you're somebody who's engaged in politics, you do tend to get sick and tired of the same 2 colours all the time. And I think, Lib Dems broke the red-blue kind of viral thing back in 2010 when they gained the seats that they gained. But it will obviously... we do want change. I mean, I think everyone wants change. I think the majority of nobody wants conservatives. Some people think reform is the right answer. I don't agree with that. I know some of my subscribers are reform, but I don't agree with their premise that they think reform is in the best interest for the UK. I don't agree with that. But I think that the Greens will have an impact. I think the Lib Dems will have an impact, and I think this is I think it's a great opportunity for the Conservatives to get really hurt in this general election. How much they're going to get hurt, I don't know. But make no mistake about it, the Greens are going to be targeting at least 4 seats. And if they get all 4, they will have, it may not be much of a voice, but it is a voice they will have in Parliament and they can use. Remember, the Lib Dems at one point had 8 MPs at one point after they got wiped out. So it's not to say that that the Greens can't build on 4 MPs. As if they continue to go in the direction that they're going, the mainstream media will have to cover them more. They will have to cover them more if they continue to do it. But I hope that some of the things that the Green Party has in their policies and pledges are kind of pushed by Labour to do the same things so that they can keep the Green. So not so much just to keep the Greens away, but just do policies that will be in the interest of the British public. That's my hope, but time will tell. So guys, what do you make of the Green Party? What do you make of the threats or non-threats to the Labour Party? What do you make of some of the key seats that the Greens are going to be targeting? Do you think that they will get 4 seats? Or do you think they will just get maybe the 2 that I've suggested? They have made grounds in local elections, that is for sure. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts and more in the comment section down below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you could do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.